Hi, this is Karen Overton, the Quilt Rambler. I'm coming to you today, of course, from the Quilt Rambler Studio. I'm trying something new. I'm not sure how to do this, and we're going to have a lot of stops and starts, but I haven't rambled and sewed in quite a while. Been a lot of things going on and doing a lot of designing and secret work behind the scenes. But this is my afternoon to sew for myself, and this weekend I've actually already made some placemats. This is the unquilted one because I only had room for 3 of them on the long arm. But this is made with Deb Tucker's Star 60 tool. And I wanted to kind of play with it. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to play with this as a recording? I've lost the tool. Oh my goodness. My studio is just a mess, just like everything else. Kind of felt like the Nutty Professor doing things behind the scenes and things like that. But anyway, this is what the tool looks like. And Deb came out with this. Is that right side up? Nope, upside down. Deb came out with this earlier this spring. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to do the pattern that is on the back, because that is teaching you the basic units of the Star 60, which is a diamond inside an equilateral triangle. And then you combine that with these combination units and you get this fun little pattern right here. Now, as with all of Deb's tools, lots of good instructions with illustrations, but look at this. She gives you a chart that tells you all different sizes of what you need to do to cut out with this tool. So I was playing around a little bit and got started already. But I think I'm going to continue working and showing you girls and guys how to actually use the tool. We really haven't had a tutorial on it yet. So it's kind of the blind leading the blind, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? I was making another project and I ended up with a lot of strip sets. You know, you sew 3 strips together and you're, making strata and doing things like that. So I had a lot left over and I love working through my scraps. So I thought, what if instead of a solid color in this star, what if I made a diamond out of strips? Kind of like our Banded Lemoyne or our Liberty Lemoyne or one of those Lemoynes. So I actually made a couple to get started, and I went ahead and cut out a whole bunch of diamonds. But the pattern needs 18 of one color and 18 of another, and I don't have enough scraps to make it all diamond strips, so I need to cut out some more diamonds to go through this. And that's where I thought, well, this would make for a fun video, so why not cut some of this together and see what it's like to work with a camera. I'm not doing this live because I'm not that brave. Too many things can go wrong with live besides, just my blunders. I can live with that. So anyway, so what I decided to do, where did he go? I lost him already. I decided to work with a 7-inch finished Star 60 unit. So can you see if I put him over here? Let's move this guy out of the way. Okay, so that's what we're going for, is that guy right there. I am a graph paper person, and so if you go to the store, they've got this little nifty isometric, let's see how we pronounce it. Yeah, isometric graph paper that gives you the equilateral triangles. Now, I happen to like geometry, and I know a lot of you don't like the M word, like math. You don't like to think about math. The good news is Deb's already done all the math for us, so we don't have to really worry about it. The only thing we need to know is how to cut and what strips to cut and what size to cut. So I took my little graph paper and drew out my Star 60. And paper never forgets, so I've made notations of how many I need of each section and what size to cut it. So the diamond, and again, it's all in your instruction sheet, tells you the different sizes, and I can't read backwards, and I forgot to flip this. So you may be seeing all this backwards. It's kind of a mute point anyway, but pull yours out and you can look along with me. So we're going to find whatever row has the 7 on there. And because I can read it, I'm going to read it to you. Okay, so here we go. The 7-inch says that the diamond strips oversized need to be 4 1/4 wide. Okay, so that's our first step. So let's cut some strips 4 1/4 wide. Now this is where it's going to get a little interesting with me trying to film, is I'm going to try to turn my camera where I'm actually letting you watch me cut, and I'll talk through what I'm going to do first, and then we'll see how this works. I may have to stop and start, I don't know. We'll just ramble on and get through it, right? Okay, so I need a 4 1/4 strip, and again I'm using scraps because this is some fabric that I had left over from a backing of a recent project, and I think it's going to give me some enough room to play around with this. So let me see if I can turn the camera down. I have a little flexible, oops, I hate to do this. It's kind of scary because you don't know where it's going to end up. All right. Oh, can we see? See, I can't see. I don't know if you can see. Oh, maybe we can. All right, let's cut a 4 1/4 inch strip, and hopefully you can see part of this. So let's get rid of some of this. I got it a little bit long, so just bear with me. You all know how to cut a strip, so it's not like I'm, you know, reinventing the wheel here, but I will line it up and get it a good 4 1/4. That's C, that says wrong side of the tool. 4 1/4. Now I like the fact that I'm not having to do like 5/16 or 5/18 or that kind of stuff, but every now and then something may call for that, and we can just unch it and improvise. Okay, so there's my 4 1/4 strip. Now when you go and look at the tool, I hope you can see this, if I can put paper behind it so maybe we can see. Oh, I'm not prepared for this. I do everything on the fly, you know that. All right, do you see the section here of the tool that has all the diamonds? There's little dashed lines and solid lines, and it numbers from 1 all the way up to 9. Actually, it goes a little bit bigger to 9 1/2. Well, these are your diamond guidelines, okay? And because we are going to be doing a 7-inch finish, I need to once again go to my instruction sheet. Okay, let's see if we can do this together. So I cut my 4 1/4 like it said. The next column says diamond subcut guideline. So it says 8. Okay, so I get my handy dandy little tool and I'm going to line up the 8. Now, oh, I bury everything. Okay, so I'm going to line my tool up. Can you see this? Let's scoot back a little bit. And I'm going to do a cleanup edge. Okay, I got to get rid of this odd stuff here because these are 60-degree diamonds. We're used to working with 45 with Lemoyne Star, which is up until now my favorite star, but I'm thinking I'm liking this one the best. Okay, I'm going to turn my tool around so that I have the 8 right here lined up with this, okay? And I'm going to line it up at the top of my 4 1/4 and the bottom of my 4 1/4 and give it a little cut. It says I need 18 of these. I don't know how big my strip was. There's a QR code on the tool instruction sheets that will give you estimation of how many things you're going to get out of a cut. So I would proceed and cut that as we go to get my diamonds. We'll come back and finish those off camera. The next thing I need to know is this is going to be my diamond right here, okay, because I'm doing some solid ones to go along with the strip ones I had earlier. These right here are called side triangles. So that's what we want to cut next. Now I have several of them already cut, but again, I want to show you how to do that on the tool. So let's find a strip. I just love my Island Batik fabrics. I keep all the little parts and pieces because you never know what you're going to need to cut out of them. So let's see if this is big enough. I'm not sure, but I think this is what I cut from earlier. Let's go back down this section. We're making a 7-inch Star 60 finished unit. We've already done our diamonds at 4 1/4, and then we subcut them with the 8. So now my side triangle needs to be 4 1/2. Let's see if we're doing okay. And maybe this is a 4.5 and I don't have to cut one. You know, if I plan things, we might could do things a little bit easier, but where's the fun of that? Oh, good. It is 4.5. Okay, this is something that I had already used. So let me show you now how to cut those side triangles. All right, in a perfect world, it would be one piece, okay? On the tool, can you see my tool? Let's put this behind it again. I should just find a plain sheet of paper and do this, but where's the fun in that? Play along with me, right? Okay, can you see her now? And again, pull your tool out and look right along with me. It makes it a whole lot easier instead of just watching it, to go ahead and watch with me. All right, a while ago we lined up that diamond on the 8. Okay, so now we're going to be cutting the side triangles, and we're using the lines here. Okay, now you can see where there's a little tip cut off right here. That little tip, that is going to line up with the tip of my fabric that I've cut. Okay, so I line the tip up at the top of the fabric, and I cut it 4.5. So if you can see this, trust me, it says 4.5 right here. So I'm already ahead of the game. We already sliced that one off, so he's gone. So now I'm going to cut my diamond, my side triangle. Then I'm going to flip the tool, line it up again where that little line, that little tick line, is at the top or bottom now of my strip, and the 4.5, which is the size of my strip, lines up across the top of my strip. Okay, there we go. Easy peasy. That's all we're doing there, and we're going to cut a bunch of them little things. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn the camera off and move to the sewing machine, and hopefully I'll know how to splice this together. I am not an editor, I'm just a rambler, but we're going to go take some of these diamonds. Where did they go? I lost them. It's a lot of fun to work in my studio because I'm always all over the place. We're going to take these diamonds and we're going to sew them to our diamond. Triangles to diamonds. And I do need to check because there's a certain way we want to put the notch. So I'm going to review the instructions and meet me at the sewing machine. Okay, hold on. Okay, can you see me now? Hi, I've got the camera where you can see the needle instead of me, but you can hear my voice because you know how loud I talk. Okay, so what I want to do, again, this is just being goofy. I want to set my myself up for sewing. So I did check the instructions. Like I said, all else fails, paper never forgets. You want to be able to line this up as it's going to be sewn. Now, can you see what I've done? Let's scoot this way, this way. All right, here's what we're doing. We've got the notch edges going towards the point, okay? And because what that does is that keeps the bias all on the same, the straight edges all on the same. Deb's figured all that out for us. I don't have to know the why. I just need to follow her instructions. Now, what I like to do is chain piece, and let me go ahead and change my 1/4 inch foot here. I normally would not sew this in black thread, and when I do the rest of them, I'm not going to, but I have no idea how this looks on camera because I'm just rambling and sewing, and I'm thinking that black thread should show up. So let's see if we can do this. I'm going to set these aside, and these are what I'm sewing from. So I'm going to do a chain piecing where I have 2 of them. The nice thing about that little notched edge is it lines up perfectly. You see that? That notched edge is lining up with the back of my diamond. Again, forgive my videography skills. I'm not known for being a camera person. I'm known for rambling. So we're going to, let's get what I call a happy strip. Where did they all go? Here we go. Something I was sewing. Ah! Well, there we go. This is why we don't do things live. All right, this is a happy strip. If you don't know what that is, simply, do you know how much your machine likes to eat? How it's hungry and it wants to eat up and gobble up your pieces? If you'll start with a happy strip then your machine is happy and not hungry, and it's not going to chew up your points. Okay, make sure I've got it lined up. Okay, and I do. And I'm going to sew just a 1/4 inch seam. Oops, make sure it's in here. I sew with a stiletto. You know that if you've watched me. I try not to pin if I don't have to. I'm not real good with sharp objects. I've damaged like 3 digits. One of them was cut off, you know, with a rotary cutter. So my family teases me about not having sharp objects very often. All right, first one's sewn. Gonna line up the next one and line up that notch at the bottom. Okay, it's gonna overhang. Do you see that? It does overhang. Okay, that's fine. It's supposed to, because that's what's going to give us the overage later when we get to trim down, which of course is the beauty of the Deb Tucker tools. We love being able to make things just a little bit bigger, oversized, and then use the tools to trim it to the size we need to. That helps with those matching points. All right, I'm going to be a little bit lazy on these two because I actually know I have some extras. And so if I royally mess these up, I still have extra ones that I can do. But just for the sake of a ramble and sew video, get rid of that happy strip, put him back underneath there. Okay, so normally, for some reason, my stitches, so there's my 1/4 inch seam. Now, according to Deb, she says press towards the diamond or open. And I'm going to press it towards the diamond. Okay, that's the other nice thing about this little stiletto, is I can give it a finger press. Actually, I'm gonna do open. I prefer open. So we'll hit it with an iron later, but I'm too lazy to get up and do that and cut the camera off because I want to get on to the next part, don't you? Yeah, sure you do. I mean, after all, how much time do we have to watch and hear somebody ramble? But I'm hoping that this is going to give you a little bit of knowledge to be able to pull out your own Star 60 tool and play with the pattern that was given. All right, so can we see that? Ooh, it really does need a good pressing, but we're going to live with it for now. All right, let me go back and line things up without hitting the camera. Okay, it was very important, remember, that this notch goes towards the point. So I don't sew on from that direction, but I guess I can. Let's see, we can do that. Yeah, we'll do that. We will flip this one over, and I'm going to line up that notched edge with the end of my diamond. Can you see how pretty that matches? Okay, you see it from both sides, and again it's going to go over, and we're going to have to play a little bit with that unpressed area, but I think we can make it work. Let's see. Wonder why let me try this bobbin for a second. Technical difficulties. The bobbin's not in there right. Let go. Because I'm getting some pulled stitches. Samples are just that, samples. You know, I've always said if you're going to try something, try it with scrap fabric, or possibly make a few blocks with Christmas fabric, and then that way eventually one day you'll have all these little orphan blocks of Christmas designs and you can make a really cool sampler. What I'm doing is holding my seam down so it goes the way I want it to. Okay, and it's just straight sewing. Who knew that you could make straight stitches to make a 60-degree triangle? Again, I'm checking my placement. It is most important that you really pay attention to your placements. Okay, line this little guy up. I like these notches because it's easier than there's sometimes you have to kind of float it and center it. For some reason, I've done it that way, so this time we'll sew from this side. The only time that really matters which side you sew is if you have a precision cut, and had this striped diamond been a precision cut, we would always sew with the precision cut on top. but today I'm being kind of flippant and sewing on either side. Why does that not surprise me? All right, wing it and go, wing it and go. All right, so looky here. We now have our extra little thing right here. We now have a star 60 unit that needs to be pressed and trimmed. So I'm going to cut the camera off. I'm going to give it a really good press, and then I'm going to show you how we trim. In for a penny, in for a pound. I might as well show you how I press. I have this really cool pressing stick that helps with the gravity of opening up those seams. And I like to finger press it, which we did at the sewing machine. And then I use my iron to press it. Now, oops, looks like when no, I did it okay. Here we go. Press the other one. Again, those black seams are just really driving me crazy because it will probably show through on the front. But the sacrifices I make to be able to share with you what I'm doing. All right, I've got him, and it's really always good to do a little spray, whether it's water or your favorite starch. You really, really, really want to give it a good going over so that it's nice and flat. Let's go ahead and do this other one. I love this pressing stick. I use it all the time. It comes in several different sizes. I have just a smaller one for when I'm doing blocks, but I have one that's the full length of a width of fabric. So if I were piecing together strips, and you can see I did on these, I pressed open, it helps me to keep everything straight. So okay, we've got two pretty little, oops, let's give him the spray. We've got two pretty little star 60 units that are ready to be trimmed. So let's move over to the cutting station. Are we ready to cut? All right, we're going to take a good look at the tool again. And you can see that we had that diamond here that we used to cut our diamond out earlier. Along the tool, we have lines that represent our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's really cool. And then all the different horizontal lines for different things that we cut with it. So we know we're going for a 7-inch finish, which means it's a 7.5 inch unfinished. So I hope you can see this. We're going to line this up, and I'm going to try to hold it up. Let's see, we'll go back to my one that we already made. Where'd he go? Make sure. Yep, 7.5. But wait a minute. Oh, I see what I was doing. Okay, he actually fit at my 7.5 inch dotted lines, but then I didn't have anything to trim, and that was throwing me off. Well, I'm not doing a 7.5 inch finish. I'm doing a 7-inch finish. So I need to move the tool and see if I can pick it up and show it a little bit closer where you can see it. Oh, there's the clock. I've gone more than 15 minutes. Oh well, that's typical of Ramblin' Sew. Never more than... All right, can you see this? Can you see that there's a... Let me wait till the clock finishes. Yeah, it would be the long song. It usually is when I'm filming. There is a 7-inch line right here on the diamond, and that's what we're lining up. You can also see, I'm sorry, I just do everything on the fly, so it's fun. It makes things interesting. Life is never boring around here. I can also see my 7.5 inch here at the end, so that I know I'm cutting the right size this time. All right, let's get this out of the way and let's get cutting. Oh, I can't hardly wait. Okay, so line up the tool with the 7-inch diamond guideline. Okay, I also like to really make sure it looks like I'm going straight up my diamond. Okay, going to cut up one side. This is where a rotating mat comes in handy. Cut the other side. Now, depending on construction and what I'm doing with the tool, I may leave this side untrimmed, but I really like to trim as I go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn, I think there's other ways that Deb does it, but this is how I like to do it. I have lined up right here with my 7.5, okay? I have checked this to make sure I have a seam allowance, because there's the point on my diamond. Can you see that? The point on the diamond. And this goes across a vertical line, so I've got a straight edge here. So let's adjust it just a smidgen and give that one a cut. Okay, and so there he has his 1/4 inch here, and it's already figured into here. Let's do one more because I pieced one more, and let's see if we can do it right this time. We're going to hold our mouth just right and line up that 7-inch diagonal. See if we can pick it up and you see it. Can you see where it's lined up? Okay. And I'm going to cut this side and cut the other side. Whoop, I slipped. This is where that Invisi-Grip comes in handy. And I do have Invisi-Grip on here because it does help keep the things from going. Now, I think you can actually line up this cut edge on the back and trim across this flat edge, but I don't trust myself to do that, and I'm not really sure. I haven't read all the instructions. I'm just playing today. I haven't had time to really play. So I'm going to do what I did a while ago, and I do have several points of reference. One is I know this is clean, so it's 7.5 right here. This is going to be already here because I've cut it. I'm also going to use that same 7-inch diamond guideline against my diamond. It's not going to go that way, but it still goes this way. And I'm making sure, right now this says 3 3/4. So for this particular size, the point is you want to make sure you've got everything straight, because otherwise if you don't, when you go to put them together, it's not going to match points. So how's that look so far? Let's see if I can turn the camera up, and not sure how to do this. Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm still here. Are you? Okay, so let's put it on the design wall and see what these are starting to look like. Okay, whoops. There we go. There's one. Move out of the way. There's another one. Now I'm going to have to put mine with that other color because I don't have enough to do all of these, unless I don't know, I might dig through my scraps. But isn't that pretty? So that's how those are going to come together. And that is this section right here. Oh, sorry, this section right here. And then I'll go back and add these companion larger things to it. Now, how do I know what size those are? Everything's in the instruction book. Okay, so I go back, and in this column we have a 7-inch finished. We've already done the 4 1/4 for our diamond strip, and we cut them at the 8-inch guideline. Then we cut side triangles with a 4.5-inch strip, and we made those little side triangles. And then we now need to do what's called a companion triangle, which is actually an 8-inch. And I'm going to show you, you can either cut them as an oversized 8 or as a 7.5. So let's just play. I've got scraps. It's wonderful to have fabric. So let's just play. Let's just, oh, you got to see what I'm doing. That would help, wouldn't it? All right, this may or may not be in my little quilt. If I can turn this back down. Come on, little guy. This is when you need helpers. Talk about companion triangles. I need a companion camera person. All right, so that companion triangle ends up, if I want to oversize it, I would cut it at 8. So let's just oversize this. And I'm using a scrap, and it's like, you know, rocket science here, guys and gals, just pure rocket science. Then I'm going to line it up at 8. Now, the reason why it is oversized is based on the construction. Okay, you can actually make this unit as one big equilateral triangle. And if you did that, you would want it to be oversized so that you could go in and trim this straight. I tend to be precision piecing, so what I would probably do is just go ahead and cut it at the 7.5. I'm going to make some off camera and then come back later and show you how I put these together. I hope you've enjoyed this so far, and we'll talk to you later. Okay, well, you ready for the big reveal? Now, if I'd have known I was going to do a tutorial today, I would have started earlier in the day, because what I actually woke up and did this morning was the placemats that I had told you about earlier. I made 4 of them, but the fabric that I had on the long arm was only long enough to do 3. So let me just show you a close-up of the placemats that I did today. If you follow me on Facebook, Tucker Time at the Quilt Rambler, you can see a close-up of these, but these were a lot of fun. I put these up as a teaser because I really want to do a little review before I do the big reveal, okay? And I want to thank you for sticking with me, because this is a lot longer than what I normally do with the Ramble and Sew. But I thought it was really fun to be able to talk about the new Star 60 tool. And I hope you have one, and if not, you know where to get them, but you need to get one because this is so much fun. I mean, I've only touched the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with this tool, which reminds me, let me tell you what we're doing. Okay, this pattern right here, because you can do it any size, okay? You can do little 1-inch Star 60s all the way up to the 10-inch. This thing could be as big as a king-size, queen-size quilt or something. I don't know. Now, I want to clarify a couple of things because I was working with scraps. I do like to proof a pattern with scraps and not necessarily, you know, my fabric that I've purchased for something. There's not yardage requirements given with this free pattern, but if you do use this little QR code right down here, it will give you a chart that will help you figure the math. In other words, if you had a 4.5-inch strip like we did for those side triangles, it would tell you how many side triangles you could get out of a width of fabric. So that helps you figure your yardage. Now, as my disclaimer also, when I showed you how to do the companion sides earlier, and we figured oversized, they were 8 inches, or cut size, they were 7.5. Again, I was working with scraps, and when I showed you how I cut it, I just cut 1 out. It would be much more, I don't want to say cost effective, but fabric effective if you get a strip. So if we were cutting that oversized at 8 inches, we would have had an 8-inch strip, and we would have moved the tool back and forth to make those cuts, and we would have been more conservative with our fabric. But I like being wild. I like doing things just at the spur of the moment. Like I said, if I'd known I was going to do this, I would have started earlier in the day. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be totally complete, but I'm at a point I wanted to do a review with you and to encourage you to use the tool. That said, I made mine really, really scrappy. I used the fabrics that I had. Some of you are just going to go, oh my gosh, you know, there's just no way that I would have ever put these colors together. Well, in my defense, they actually were leftovers from a project that I made a couple of summers ago, and so all the fabric is out of one collection. So yes, they go together, but maybe a little bit more together than what some of you would like. That said, put your imagination cap and your thinking cap on, and let me show you what I have done and explain how I have got to this point. So if I can do this without tripping, I had to get a bigger design wall than what I had at the cutting station. This is part of my landlocked quilting cruise arena, and that's where all of the sewers at my classroom have their own design wall. Okay, what I have done, ta-da! It's in parts and pieces because there really was not enough hours in the day. I think I could have done this in one full day had I started earlier, but what I wanted to show you was the layout, and I've lost that little, here it is. Okay, I find it easier to lay things in rows, and I'll explain that in a minute. But when you look up close, let me get close where you can see it. Can you see where this is at a hexagon with the point? So what I did for my layout is I turned it this direction, and that's the way I'm piecing it, okay? So that's why mine's going to look a little bit different than the orientation of this, but it's the same blocks. Okay, so let me tell you how I put this together. What I like to do is sew things in rows, okay? But I will start off by doing 2 together, 2 together, 2 together, and there's usually an odd guy out for whatever reason, okay? I do press the seams open. Then I will go take those 2 and make 4. Take the other 2 and make 4. And again, I got my odd guy out. Then I will piece my whole row. And then after I've pieced another row, I will join them together. Now this is something that I really want to emphasize. Let's see if I can show you on this one, I think. Yeah. All right. When I'm putting 2 rows together, or 2 sets of 4 together, do you see these dog ears right up here? Don't cut them off yet. You need them, okay? What I do is I am lining to be able to get, I'm at the wrong height. Okay, it's rambling so, and it's late. It's past dinner time. My family's being very patient. I am actually going to line it up with turn it this way, with those dog ears, because otherwise, how am I going to know exactly where my 1/4 inch is? I could mark it, but I'm kind of a lazy, efficient quilter. So if I leave those dog ears on there, then that allows me to line it up, because then it's going to come out where when I put them together, they come together and they match, okay? Which is important. I mean, we've worked this hard for our points, right? So we match it. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to keep going back to a design wall. Oops, see, that's not the right place. Because if you pick something up and you've put it out of place, then you get to frog, and that's not right. There we go. So if I'm always coming back to my design wall, then I'm not going to have things this out of orientation. I'm not going to be pulling out that seam ripper and frogging. Now, the pattern that comes with the tool does suggest doing setting side triangles. She calls them half triangles. That's beyond the scope and sequence of this video, because I've already gone like 2.5 normal times of a ramble and sew. I may or may not put those on there on mine. I want you to know though that these are equilateral triangles, and again, remember I mentioned I like geometry, so I kind of brushed up on some of my geometry. When we have Deb's tool, her tool, let's see if I can show it here. I just dropped my microphone. I hope you can still hear me. Her tool measures the height, so it's a finished height of 6 inches, not the width right here. And I'm going to take down a second and get my microphone. Okay, wow. I really have a lot. This has been a long day. Okay, so when you're doing other people's tools, they don't necessarily translate, okay? Because someone else's tool, hold on, you're going to have, I'm sorry, I lost the little bobble. Oh well. Other people's tools, sometimes they're made with the outside edges measuring at the 6 inches or whatever your size is versus the height. Equilateral math is true math, okay? I love it. So I had a great time with it. But the height right here is not the same as the sides, okay? I've learned that if you did English paper piecing or things like that, they wanted this to be the even part where it was exactly inches or half inches or whatever, so that your other blocks would play nicely together. That's not true of this. So you cannot substitute someone else's tool for a pattern written for this tool, is what I'm trying to get at. It just doesn't work, because the equilateral math does not work. This is the height, and this length right here is 1.55 times the height. So if I had an 8-inch square, I have a 7-inch, but if I had an 8-inch, that measurement right here would be 9.28. That is not something I can find on my ruler, okay? So when I'm piecing things together, I like the fact that all of my rows have the same height. These all have the 7-inch finish height, so I can put it together as a row. Now, we talked about earlier on this particular pattern where you have the companion triangles on the side, okay? Had this not been such a large block, you could have actually, let me find one. Where'd he go? Okay, right here on this bottom. See how I've got a companion triangle here? Let me move over the way. I have one here and one here. Do you see how if this was all put together, it would be an equilateral triangle? And that's why you would want those companions oversized, so that when you put it together as a triangle, then you could trim it. With this being so large, that is not how I chose to construct it. If I was making the little bitty ones like my CI friend in the Netherlands likes to make the little 1-inch ones, and Sarah at the home office likes to make the little 1-inch ones, then you could go ahead and put it together that way, because it'll fit under your tool for trimming. So each pattern, each size, each decision is something that you need to, make on your own. It's not rocket science. Take time to read the instructions. There's more that this tool does. I mean, this little companion free pattern just gets you started, okay? There's things that you can make with this tool. You can actually make a half hexie and cut it out without having to piece it. You can actually make a full hexie. You can make those half triangles. Half triangles that you could put on the side. But going back to that math, because equilateral triangles are not always the same, they will not end up as a square. No matter what you do, you cannot make it an exact square. So to do that, you have to add the actual strips, then cut it to size if you want to square it up. I actually kind of like it as a hexagon, and I can't wait to finish this. I just can't do it tonight. But I want to thank you for being with me this long and listening to my ramble, and being kind of weird and goofy and experimenting and trying to do a tool tutorial. Everybody's going virtual nowadays, and I'm not quite ready to do that. I don't really have the time to devote to it. Don't have the camera. This is filmed on my iPhone, guys, and I'm sticking it together in iMovie. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to videos, but I know I like connecting with you that way. And if it's something that you would love to have more tutorials from me, give me a like on YouTube and on Facebook and tell me, hey, do more. It's okay if you mess up. We understand. None of us are perfect anyway. So, again, like, follow, share this tutorial across social media with your friends. If you're not already following the Quilt Rambler, please go to my website, follow my blog. If you're on Facebook, of course, you know what to do. Go like and follow on Facebook. And please be a part of Tucker Time with the Quilt Rambler on Facebook, because that's where I'm going to post this finished quilt when I get done. Oh, and Sarah in Waller County, I hope to have it done by the time I see your guild in about 3 weeks. So that's my goal. We'll see if I can get it together. Thank you again for spending some time with me, and I just hope that this has been helpful. And I cannot wait to see what you can do with Deb Tucker's Studio 180 Design Star 60 tool. I really do think it's my favorite tool. Okay, that's all for now. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for stopping in. Karen Overton, the Quilt Rambler. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.